Mr. McDonald here. In this video segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the anatomy of nerves. Okay, so it's pretty short. There's only about 3 or 4 slides. And this first slide is important because it sets up the information that we're talking about. In the past, we've talked about the anatomy of neurons. And we have to understand how that's different from what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about the anatomy of what we commonly call nerves. All right, so what this is this is actually bundles of nerves, and this excludes the brain and the spinal cord. So this is not in the central nervous system. This is only in the peripheral nervous system. Common examples of this is the sciatic nerve. If you ever heard of someone who has sciatica or experiences pain in their lower body, that kind of becomes common in some older people. Another really good example that we were able to see firsthand when we dissected the eye was the optic nerve. So we actually felt one of these nerves that we're trying to describe right now, and this is the structure that you felt in your hands. Okay, so again, these are bundles of nerves outside of the central nervous system. Okay, so the first thing here is a nerve is a bundle of neurons. So we learned about neurons and we learned about the anatomy of a neuron. Okay, so this is going to be a bunch of neurons all bundled together. All right, and these guys are surrounded by connective tissue, because usually we spend a lot of time in class talking about how neurons are a lot like electrical wiring, and electrical wiring needs insulation. All right, if the electrical wire isn't insulated, it loses its signal. Okay, and neurons are the same way, but we don't put rubber coatings around neurons, obviously. What we do put around neurons, though, are neuroglia. Specifically, we put a myelin sheath around there that's made up of oligodendrocytes, all right, in the central nervous system, or Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system, which is where we are now. All right, so let's check out another slide here, and then we'll get into a picture. This slide kind of goes hand in hand with our picture that we're going to see. And if you take notice, you're going to see some of these prefixes that look pretty similar. They popped up when we talked about muscles before. They were very similar prefixes, and now they're here again in the nerve. All right, so we have well, let's go to the picture, and I'll come back to this. So this is what we're talking about. This is the structure of a nerve in our body. So again, if you think of the optic nerve that we felt, this is what was in that optic nerve. So let me get a marker here. Let's see, let's go green today. All right, so up here, all right, we have an axon. So that's the neuron that we learned about before. All right, so we checked out a neuron, and we talked about how neurons work. And now a minute ago, we were also talking about insulation. So here's an insulation that we're talking about, the myelin sheath. Okay, so every nerve cell or every neuron has to have that insulation to help protect the electrical impulse. All right, so so this right here sticking out, kind of looks like a piece of spaghetti almost before you cook it, is one individual neuron. Okay, now within our nerve, we wrap each neuron in an endoneurium. Okay, now again, we've seen these prefixes before. Think about an endomysium in the muscular system. Okay, so that's what we see right here. That's what this yellow thing is, all right, that we see going around our neurons. So this is a whole bundle of neurons wrapped in endoneuriums. Okay, so now the bundle of endoneuriums is wrapped in another piece of connective tissue, and that's the perineurium. Again, think about our bone structure. We had periosteums. Okay, so we've seen these prefixes before, and hopefully that helps you understand the structure of the nerve. There's some redundancy there to help us out. Okay, so this bundle encased in a perineurium is called a fascicle. Again, a term that you've seen in a similar situation before. All right, so there's multiple fascicles in here. We can see here's one, here's two, There's 3, and here's a 4th fascicle that we see in this particular nerve. All right, so again, the fascicle is a bunch of neurons encased in endoneurium, all right, all grouped together, surrounded by a perineurium. That's what we see there. Okay, now a group of these fascicles is called an epineurium. All right, no, I'm sorry, it's called a nerve, but the connective tissue that goes around it is called the epineurium. So just to go over that one more time, because I messed it up right there. The epineurium is the tissue layer that goes around the outside of the fascicles. Okay, that's the final tissue layer there, and then collectively that whole structure is what we commonly call a nerve. All right. Also in the middle we see blood vessels. Okay, and the blood vessels are important because we need to be able to feed the mitochondria that are in each of those somas. All right, so that we can generate electrical impulses and get rid of waste products. All right, so that's why we always make sure we include blood vessels in these diagrams. All right, so again, prefixes that we've seen before: endo, peri, epi. All right, we've seen fascicle before. All right, so but now we're in the nervous system as opposed to the muscular system or the skeletal system. All right, guys, so let's see, let's get rid of my marker here. Come on. No? We gotta click on it. There we go. Oops, wrong way, I'm sorry. So again, the endoneurium surrounds each individual neuron. So each neuron has endoneurium. All right, groups of fibers, which are, again, each individual fiber surrounded by an endoneurium, are bound into fascicles by a perineurium. In fascicles, all right, we have multiple fascicles bound together by an epineurium. And then we would collectively call this structure bound by the epineurium a nerve. Okay, so that's what we need to talk about in terms of what a nerve is. All right, so again, we don't want to confuse that with the neuron. A neuron's an individual nerve cell. This is a bundle of nerve cells. All right, so if you got any questions, again, let me know. I know I kind of end all videos with that, but if you got questions, please let me know. And that's it. McDonald out.